Hello, friends, and welcome to the inaugural episode of Virtual Strangers. My name is Wes, otherwise known as Weasel, and these are my friends. Starting in the bottom left corner, we have Justin, also known as MameFan.
Thank you.
Going clockwise, we have Alex, and in the top right hand corner, we have James, also known as Roots.
Um,
So, it wasn't long ago that none of us knew who any of the others were. We were virtually strangers, but we were strangers that shared a common interest, and that interest being VR gaming. So we came to know each other in the message boards and the chat rooms of the VR 365 YouTube channel, and it wasn't long before we were having daily conversations on Discord about VR games. And that's what this channel is about. We wanted to bring the conversation to you. So, without further ado, let's get into some news. So, it was maybe the end of last year, Sony announced that they would not be attending the E3 conference in 2019. And in lieu of this, they decided that they were going to put out their own news and release info through their own media sources. And this past Monday, we saw the first such installment of Sony's State of Play broadcast, which was designed to give upcoming game announcements and news going forward for their platform. Uh, Much to the chagrin of many flat gamers and to the elation of VR gamers, this broadcast was very VR heavy. And I didn't think too much of it at first. I thought maybe that a few people were upset from it. People on Reddit, you know how they are. They like to uh, be vocal about what they're feeling. But when I looked at it, I went on YouTube, and every major flat gaming uh, media outlet was basically dragging the state of play through the dirt. Nobody liked it except for VR, and the VR sources all loved it. Um, Roots, what do you think that the first state of play being so VR centric says about the way Sony looks at PlayStation VR going forward?
It just seems to me they put a lot of emphasis on it. I think they're pushing VR more than any other outlet, and I think they're going to overtake them in Generation Two. Like as far as game wise and just overall package. So I think they're that's what they're pushing for. You know.
So you think that this being so VR heavy shows that they're probably internally going to be pushing PlayStation VR even more so in the future.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, if you look at their catalog, I mean, just in the last 6 months, it's just exploded, and it just seems like it's hit after hit after hit. It's forced me to go into getting the games, and like now, three of us out of the four, and I'm sure Alex will have it pretty soon here if we keep talking about it long enough. So,
Yeah,
it's and then what they grew in just the last year? I know it was well over a million, or is that the last 6 months in units
oh
sold?
yeah, yeah. It
So.
was like the last 6 months. Um, Justin, do you think that the lack of flat gaming announcements means that the PlayStation 5 may be released right around the corner? I mean, because
Yeah, probably that does indicate that they're working on PS5 games, so they can't really announce them. So yeah,
right, right. That's what I was thinking. Is that maybe uh, what the flat gamers aren't realizing is that they can't announce what they're working on. All the big PS4 games have been announced at this point, and and that kind of their hands are tied. All they have going forward is PlayStation VR.
hmm.
Um, Alex, when Sony pulled out of E3 at the end of last year, people wanted to know why, and basically they said that the reason why they weren't going to E3 is because they had nothing. They had literally nothing to bring to E3. Should we be concerned that even though Sony has this plethora of huge VR announcements that they're basically considering it nothing, and it's not enough to carry a big conference like E3.
No, I don't think we need to worry about it. I think that was a smart move for Sony to just get away from the whole conference thing. We've seen it before, obviously with Nintendo. I think don't they now do their own conferences?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at the amount of coverage it's got doing the state of play separately compared to if they had done E3, and I think they're gonna do probably another 3 or 4 throughout the year. So there's no reason. I think that conferences will probably die off eventually because there's no reason. Maybe for the smaller indies they maybe need it, but for big companies like Microsoft and Sony, I don't think they need to be going and paying all that money for a conference when they can do their own thing and get separately and get more exposure.
I absolutely agree. I think that a couple of things can be taken out of this. Of course, like we said, we can assume that PlayStation 5 is just around the corner. I think we can also infer that PlayStation VR 2 is probably not going to launch with the PlayStation 5 because there is so much going on for PSVR 1 now. It looks like they're going to be supporting it for another good period of time. I also think we can take out of this that they really don't want to upset the apple cart any more than they already have. I mean, you saw everyone's reaction to the state of play being VR heavy. What do you think they would have done if they went to E3 and just showcased mainly VR titles? Everybody would have flipped their lid. So I think it's pretty smart that they got out of E3, and I don't think that going forward we have anything to worry about from the VR front. They announced a few new games. They had a lot more announcements of release dates for games that we already knew were coming. Games they announced were, among them were Five Nights at Freddy's, Help Wanted. We had the Iron Man, Marvel's Iron Man VR, which is exciting, I think, to see that they're willing to put that kind of money into bringing a big license in. And of course, there was another title. What was it? Can't quite put my finger on it. What was the other?
That's blurred out.
Title? Oh my goodness!
Censored. It's
Oh,
censored.
There it is.
All right. Well,
Yeah, I'll just go to the trailer.
it didn't work, but
We see
there we
it.
go.
Glimpse of it.
No Man's Sky. It was the news of the week up until yesterday. No Man's Sky VR was announced to be released on all available platforms, free of charge to people who already own this game. Alex, or let me ask, do any of you already have No Man's Sky?
I just
No.
got it because of a sale. I got it for like in the low 20s on Green Man Gaming for PC.
Okay. So you just picked it up.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, I don't have it, but I will be picking it up in like an hour. So.
Alex, did you have it already?
No, I'll pick it up at some point. Obviously, I'm kind of tempted to wait for it to release and just make sure everything's all right with it first, just because of the track record they've had with this developer.
Yeah, but you have to look at the track record of overall, though. It did release horribly, but they've turned it around so much so that they brought a lot of people back. That release was so bad that it became a meme almost of like, what am I going to do? How am I going to use my refund money? Because it was just such a bad release.
Yeah,
So.
the release went badly. Not that the game was bad, from what I gather, but the hype was so big for this game when it came out. People were quite upset that it didn't live up to what they thought it was going to be. And granted, the developers did make a lot of promises they didn't keep. Pretty much since they updated this thing, what was it, a year or two ago, the conversation has been in the VR community that if they were to ever port this to VR, that we would buy it. I know I've said this on social media many times, and I'm sure you guys have talked about it before too. Justin, do you think that the VR community should be obligated now to buy this? Because we said we would, and here they are giving it to us.
Pretty much, yeah. I think we all should. I actually hesitated to get it so soon because I kind of wanted to wait until the VR version was actually released so they would know for sure they're getting my sale because of VR. But I figured they'll see that I'm in VR. They'll know.
Well,
It's
yeah,
cheaper too.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Good
that
now.
I'm sure that the sales on that day one announcement were just staggering because I got my 2 copies there from GameStop while it was on sale, and I went back the next day. As soon as I woke up, they were all gone.
Hmm.
Um, Alex, do you agree? Do you think that we're obligated to buy this now?
Yeah, I think it's similar with Dirt Rally 2. I think because of the everyone kicking off and saying it didn't have VR support, if we then don't buy it, we look like dickheads, really. So, we've got to really. I mean, to be fair, I want to buy it, so it's not like I'm just buying it because I feel like it's got VR support. But yeah, I think if people have kicked off and not kicked off, but moaned about the fact that it hasn't got VR support or said that they really want it and then they don't buy it, then you just look like an idiot, to be honest with you.
Right, right. I agree. I think that if we want to have more ports like this in the future, we need to follow through on our promises here. And Dirt Rally is a great example of that. Uh, I've never played Dirt Rally 1. I still haven't played it, but I was online, petitioning for Part 2 to come out on VR. I signed the petition on change.org. I was very active on Twitter about it, and I absolutely feel 100% obligated to buy it now when it comes out. Um, in addition to the games the new games that were announced at the Sony State of Play, there was a great number of release dates for games that we already knew were coming. Games like Skyworld, that's coming on March 26th, Falcon Age on April 9th, Jupiter and Mars, we've been waiting on a long time. That one comes out April 22. Everybody's Golf VR, May 21st. A big one, Blood and Truth, on May 29th. Trover Saves the Universe, May 31. And Vacation Simulator coming out on June 18th. And the big news coming out on day one was that there is a playable demo for Stormland, and there's also a new trailer for Stormland. Roots, are you excited for Stormland?
Oh hell yeah, dude! That game, even just watching the trailer right now, it's so amazing that just the visuals. That looks like the mechanics look very good. It looks like they really put it together very well. And Insomniac Games is getting really good at VR. So
Yeah, I think that anytime we get any kind of AAA experience in VR, that it's a treat. Um, Justin, a lot of people are speculating that we might be getting this one sooner than we think. People are saying that this could be a launch title with the Rift S headset here in about a month's time. Uh, did you think that we were going to be able to get Stormland this soon?
No, I sort of felt like summer or maybe a little later, but I
Yeah,
mean, I don't have anything to base that on.
yeah, I would. That's what I was thinking too. But then on the other hand, we know Oculus has a lot of exclusives coming out this year,
Hmm.
and they're going to want to put one of those with their new hardware. So why
Yeah.
not Stormland? We've known about this one for a while. So
I
well,
just quickly to add to that, I think I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure the devs have said that that's not true, and
oh,
that it's
okay.
not releasing with it. I
Oh,
can't remember 100%, but I'm sure that I read there somewhere that they said because they've heard about the rumor, but I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong because I'm looking forward to it. So
Yeah,
hmm.
yeah, me too. We know how rumors can be in speculation, so we don't want to buy into it too much. So I'm glad that the developers come out and stamp that one out. Alex? Do you think we'll get any of these other games like maybe Asgard's Wrath or Defector or any of the other Oculus games that are set to release this year?
I think if there's any of them, I think Defector because that one was actually due to release 2018.
Hmm.
And then they postponed it to 2019. So I think if there's any of those games that's going to release with the S, I would personally say it's Defector.
Agreed.
Yeah, you agree, Roots?
yeah,
Yeah, I would. that makes logical sense. The only thing that I would question about it though is if that was going to be the one they were going to release, why are they demoing Asgard's Wrath and Stormland? I would think that they would.
I've got a theory.
Mm.
Oh, let's hear it.
I think it's because the type of game it is, you don't want to show too much. I think they've already shown a couple of the scenes, the one on the plane, they've shown the one on the rooftop chase. I think if they keep demoing that, you'll see too much of the game, because I don't think it's going to be. I think it'll be like a 5-hour game, and I think if they show too much of that, because it's such a more of a linear experience, I think that they're just going to release it maybe. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think they'll just release it rather than keep showing more and more footage of it.
I have a theory too. The tested guys played it, and I remember in one of their videos they said they weren't very impressed with it. So maybe that's why it's not at demos anymore.
That would make sense.
Maybe that's why they postponed it.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, some negative hype definitely wouldn't help sales.
Yeah.
So whenever you know your game stinks, I guess it's better to wait, and then you might see a pre-order discount given. That's a common move for games that aren't going to be very good. They try to get people to buy them before they know anything about them.
Mm-hmm.
So if we see a pre-order discount on Defector, we'll know to be careful and maybe stay clear of it until we see some reviews.
And no, I just want to say also, I'm looking forward to that game. I know, again, people have said bad things about it, but again, I'm all about the cinematic, story-driven games. So I liked Wilson's Heart. I think this will be good as well.
I loved Wilson's Heart, and in particular, any exclusive, whether it be Oculus or Sony, they're almost always good. So I would take any negative criticism of a beta version to be, I'd take it with a grain of salt, basically. Well, the Stormland and Asgard's Wrath demos were only the start for the Oculus news, because Oculus released a new trailer for upcoming Quest games. And oh boy, were there a lot of them that we didn't know were coming. Notably, Job Simulator, Vacation Simulator, Fruit Ninja, Rush, Ultra Wings, Angry Birds VR, Creed, Beat Saber, Rec Room, Virtual Reality, VR Chat, and that's just some of them. Main fan, you probably played more Creed than anybody I know. Are you surprised that this is going to be a title for the Oculus Quest standalone?
Yeah, I was really surprised. And I mean, it looks pretty good in the video. So yeah, I mean, I'll definitely play it. I'm gonna get a Quest, and yeah, that'll be fun to play. And yeah, it's cool.
So you probably normally play that on your Vive, right?
Yeah, I played on the Vive.
So you already know what it's like to play wirelessly.
Yeah.
I imagine that for someone like me or these other guys, playing that game wirelessly would probably make a pretty big difference, right?
Oh, definitely. It's a lot better. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of footwork involved with boxing and movement. So
yeah, when I do my videos, like I showed you guys, I have those the lines on the floor, so that kind of limits my movement. I can't move all over the place because I have to like be able to see my script.
Yeah, okay. In addition to these games that were in this trailer, I mean, we also have the other notable games that we already knew about: Face Your Fears 2, Robo Recall, Dead and Buried 2, Super Hot, Moss, Star Wars Vader Immortal, and Journey of the Gods. So Mainfan's already said that he's going to be picking up a Quest. Alex, are there any of these titles that are enticing you, thinking maybe you might pick up a Quest as well?
No. Honestly, no. I just know that anything that's going to come to the Quest is going to come to the Rift. So I know. I'm not going to shit on the Quest, but it's just something that I don't personally want to buy. Just because I just feel like I'm not going to spend £400 on the Quest when I can play all the games that are going to be on the Quest. I mean, I'd be very surprised if there's something that comes on the Quest that I won't be able to play on the Rift eventually, even if it is a timed exclusive. So I'm not the guy for the Quest talk probably.
So you're going to just be patient, wait for those titles to be ported over to Rift, and save that money for maybe a PCVR headset upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't have enough. I know that if personal circumstances, some people obviously travel, some people are really wanting the wireless, but for me personally, I'm happy with the Rift and, well, to a degree, and I'm not really looking at getting the Quest.
Okay. Roots, out of that laundry list I just read off, is any of this stuff enticing you to maybe buy a Quest?
Not the games. I mean, I'm in the same boat as Alex. I mean, I could play anything that is on there. I mean, Vader, maybe if I wanted to play day one. Yeah, but you know, I've got my eyes set on a 2080 and a future Valve headset. So, I mean, I was thinking I was gonna get like the Quest and maybe the S and then literally everything changed in the last 24 hours. So, but I will get it eventually, but it's not like I have to have it day one by any stretch of the imagination. So,
Right. And
For me it's about just showing family and friends and coworkers
Right.
easily. That's the main thing.
Oh, actually, I will add actually that I am going to get a Quest at the end of the year, but I'm going to be buying it as a present for my family. So I am going to buy one,
cool.
but I'm going to be buying it as a present just because I know that every Christmas basically, I take all my desktop and I take all my PC and everything over for Christmas, and I've got a niece and nephew and they love it. So I figured this year, you know, I'll just get them a Quest, and then they've got their own headset.
What a nice uncle.
Yeah.
yeah, no kidding, man.
Can I call
Hopefully
you
they don't
uncle?
listen to this.
I'll call you uncle if you'll get me
Yeah.
one, Alex.
Okay.
Main fan, are there any of these other games that you're looking forward to on the Quest?
Vader Immortal, but I'm kind of not betting on it being much because if you look at the other ILM Labs stuff that came out for PC, there wasn't much there.
Right. And it's episodic too, so you know that that means it's probably going to be short.
Yeah. Oh, Face Your Fears 2. I'm interested in that. For some reason, yeah, Face Your Fears was always better on mobile than on Rift.
It's really
I don't know why.
pisses me off. It's stupid.
You know, I've never played that one. I've never tried Face Your Fears at all.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, those are really cool. And I want Anthony to do the spider experience, but he won't do it.
He won't do it.
Yeah.
That's all right though. If I was him, I wouldn't do it either. If I was afraid of spiders, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah,
So,
You heard him, Anthony. Peer pressure.
I know.
yeah, you got to do it.
Got to do it now. Or at least you have to go back into Farpoint and take on that level 1 boss, because I would pay money to see that.
Definitely.
All right, out of this list, besides Vader Immortal, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so of course I'm pumped for Vader Immortal. But I'm really interested in Journey of the Gods.
Oh yeah.
It's going to launch, I think, simultaneously on the Rift and the Quest. But you can obviously tell it was designed for Quest by the lack of textures in the graphics. But the look of it is just beautiful. They've done a lot with the little that they had to work with. And I mean, everything that they've said about it is wonderful. It's a Zelda-inspired action-adventure game, melee combat as well as crossbow projectile combat. And not only is there fighting, there's puzzle solving with it. And for the puzzles, many of them, you morph into this god mode where you become this gigantic monolith in the same space, and you manipulate things. Like the enemies will all run away from you. Other things you can pick up and move to clear the way for your human form to pass. So I think that game's going to be very interesting, and I can't wait for that one to come out. So Oculus wasn't the only one that showed up to PAX East. Surprise, surprise. Sony was there as well, and I was with the masses of people who weren't actually surprised to hear that they were bringing Gollum back yet again. It was notorious by its absence from the state of play. Every time Sony does a B-reel of the upcoming PSVR releases, Gollum's always in there. they were plugging Gollum before PSVR even came out. It was supposed to be a launch title, but year after year, time after time, it was delayed again. But all of a sudden, 6 months goes by, we hear nothing, and then they come out with this news last week that Gollum's going to be on the Play 4. Well, we've heard this all before. I wasn't even going to mention it in the news here because how many times can they cry wolf, you know? But I found out last night from Kevgret that the Gollum playable demo on the PAX East floor actually broke and got taken away yesterday and replaced with a second Trevor Saves the Universe demo booth.
Trover saved the universe.
Yeah, yeah.
Saves PAX East.
Saves
Yeah.
PAX East. Roots, do you think we're ever going to see Gollum?
I hope so. I mean, it looks like a good game, but I'm having my doubts if we're going to see it till 2020 at this rate. You know?
It's a pre-launch announcement. We're 3 years almost into PSVR. Still, they're saying it's coming in spring 2019. Main fan, if we do get it in spring, like they're saying, do you think it's going to be any good, or do you think it's going to be a launch title that's 3 years too late?
More the latter. Yeah, launch title 3 years too late. All I remember ever seeing is that big, big looking dude in the still image. I don't even. It's been so long. I don't even remember the trailer for it. If it, I don't even know what the game is anymore.
Yeah, the memories are fuzzy in my head too.
Mm.
It seems like I remember that this is going to be a melee combat game,
Oh, okay.
and even newer melee combat games struggle to get
Yeah.
that right. So I think this is, even when this comes out, I think it's going to be very dated. I think with all the time and resources they put into it, it's probably going to have a steep price tag on it and not be very good at all. So more than likely, this is the last time I will ever mention Gollum on this show. Until it comes out, then we can crap all over it and be done with it.
Yeah.
Sony, Oculus, these weren't the only ones that came to PAX East. Gearbox made big waves yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, when they announced their Borderlands 3 trailer. The reveal trailer, people had been anticipating this for weeks because they've been teasing it on Twitter, but flat gamers around the world rejoiced when at PAX East, Gearbox revealed their Borderlands 3 launch trailer, and that wasn't it. While all the flat gamers were yelling and giving each other high fives, Gearbox also let us, the PSVR community, know that all of the VR DLC that came with the original Borderlands 2, the DLC that came with the original Borderlands 2, would be patched in to the PSVR version free of charge in short order. So by this summer, we're going to have all that extra content that that came with the original Borderlands 2. Roots, when this game came out, it came out to some pretty good reviews. People liked it, but they had three main complaints. One being that there was no aim controller support. Two being that the DLC was not included. And three, that there was no multiplayer support, and multiplayer being such a heavy part of the flat version. Do you think we're ever going to get multiplayer on this game? I mean, it's been out 6 months now, and they've already knocked two of the complaints off the list. Do you think we're ever going to get multiplayer on this?
I don't know. I'm hoping because I own it for the PlayStation and want to get it for PC and I think it is getting released for PC as well, correct? But I don't know. It sure doesn't seem like it, you know. And it would conflict with the that new mechanic that slows time down, and that's the excuse they originally gave. So I don't know if they're going to stick to their guns and go with the excuse they gave 6 months ago. But suddenly they now can do it. I would be I'd be shocked as well if they did that. So,
Justin, what say you? Are we getting multiplayer?
I've never played a Borderlands game in my life, so I don't even know what multiplayer's like. Probably not, since it hasn't come yet so far. But it could. Well, what if it comes for PC and then they're just like, and multiplayer and all the DLC? That would be awesome. I mean, I'm definitely gonna get it if it comes out for PC, and it'll be nice because it'll be my first time playing it.
Right. I tend to think that it probably is more than that mechanic. It probably is a hardware related issue with the original PlayStation 4. I
Hmm.
don't think that old machine could probably
Handle
push
it.
a 3 or 4 multiplayer
Yeah.
session with that game without making some major concessions.
Hmm.
Alex, Gearbox came swinging with both hands, man. Borderlands 3 announcement, DLC announcement, making all this noise, yet not a single peep about PC support for Borderlands 2 VR. Do you think we're going to get Borderlands 2 VR this year?
I hope so. I don't think they can until because I remember, was it Skyrim? Was it a month before it was released on PC when it was announced? I can't remember whether it was pretty close to announcing and releasing. So I think they've got to probably wait until the exclusivity window with Sony is up before they can say anything about that. But I know they did say about the VR support. They said on the VR side of things that they've got more announcements to make. So I presume it's PC. Hopefully, maybe it is multiplayer or co-op, should we say? But we don't really know. So
So you think that the exclusivity with Sony has put a contractual gag on them, and that they're just not allowed to do anything but allude to more announcements in the future?
that would be my guess. Yeah.
Okay, so that's good. Since this came out late last year, I would imagine that any exclusivity wouldn't be for any longer than a year. So if we haven't heard about this one by Christmas, maybe we can start to get worried then.
Well, we actually found out the exclusivity window. I think it was 5 or 6 months. I think that's already
Oh,
been confirmed. So we found that out a while ago because it was mentioned on one of the adverts at the bottom, something about exclusive for so many months. It's definitely up, same as Skyrim. I think Skyrim was was it 6 months? Maybe I can't remember. But I
okay.
know
Something like
So,
that.
yeah. So I think it's the same thing, and I think we'll see the same thing happen with this, like Skyrim probably announced, and then maybe a month later it'll be released. So
well, that's great. Then we don't have long to wait at all. If I'm not mistaken, this thing launched in late November last year. So right around my birthday in June, we should hear something about this. Maybe even a little sooner than that. If they announce it early, like they did with Skyrim, we may hear about it in just a month's time. All right, and that pretty much wraps all the major news I've got from PAX and the state of play. Did I miss anything that you guys would like to talk about coming out of that stuff?
do you guys want to talk about Asgard's Wrath? Have you seen any more footage, or do you want to save that for nearer the release?
Really, the only news that I saw on it is that there was a playable demo at the GDC last week when they unveiled the Rift S. Asgard's Wrath was one of the playable demos, but I haven't really seen any new footage or heard anything else about it personally.
I just heard everyone say it was awesome, just like they say about Stormland.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I watched someone play through the footage, and I personally thought it looked pretty damn good. So, I
Hmm.
mean, graphically, it looked really crisp,
Hmm.
Yeah.
really nice. One of the best. And Jeremy from Tested actually, he tried the demo, and he said that it is actually one of the best games, if not the best game he's seen in VR graphically. So,
Wow.
I think it's going to be a good looking game. Another thing as well is that the demo um, had like a little bit of combat, and then it had like this boss battle type thing.
Hmm.
And I've seen people criticize because of this boss battles thing and everything being a bit scripted, but people have got to remember this is like a 30-hour game. There's no way that you can really show what a 30-hour game is going to be like overall in just a short demo. So I don't think this is a game that's going to demo very well, and I think it'll be a lot better than what people probably think.
Yeah.
interesting, interesting. Yeah, I've noticed myself too that a few of the VR media, if you will, content creators have said that they're more impressed with Asgard's Wrath than they are with Stormland, which I found surprising because I think Stormland was absolutely awesome, but I haven't seen much of Asgard's Wrath yet.
No, I'm sure we'll get some more on that nearer the time.
I'm not sure if Anthony played Asgard's Wrath. I know he played Stormland.
I would imagine he probably played both of them, but I don't
Probably.
know. I don't know. We'll
I
have
know
to
he
Probably
had,
ask
got
him.
he had to make a couple choices,
Hmm.
like which ones can only go to one or the other, like
Yeah.
time wise. So
Right. Well, at least he got that, and it wasn't like Vacation or Vacation Simulator or something like that. We
Yeah.
already know what that's going to be.
all right.
Any other news items we'd like to talk about, guys?
nope.
All right, and with that, that wraps the news. Okay, so going forward on our shows after the news segment, which I imagine in the future won't be nearly as long as this has been a banner week for
Crazy.
VR news. Has there ever been another week with this much news in it? I
I don't
No.
mean,
think so.
No,
day after day after day. I didn't even look at the news today because PAX is still going on, and I didn't want to have to change up this format again, you know, at this late hour. So I haven't even looked at the news today. They may have announced Half-Life VR or something today, or who knows? The way this week is going, nothing would surprise me.
That's right.
But anyway, going forward after the news segment, uh, we have a segment where we're going to go around here. Each one of us is going to talk about what we've been playing this week and what we've thought about it. And I guess for no other reason, but we have no other method, we're going to start with Justin. We're going to go around clockwise and end with me. And we're just going to talk a little bit informally about what we've been playing and what we think about it. And I would like to point out at this point, myself, Justin, Roots, we all have our own individual channels on YouTube. Those will be linked in the description. And if you hear us talk about something on here and you'd like to see it for yourself, it's very likely that you could go to one of our channels and you may find a video there with precisely the games that we're talking about on it. So, Justin, what'd you play this week, buddy?
First game I'm going to talk about is Slightly Heroes. I've put, I don't know, around 100 hours into this game. This is a one-on-one first-person shooter. And as you can see, it has cartoony, cutesy graphics, but they're really high quality. And I've just become so addicted to this. You run around the stages, and you get power-ups. Like that little droid is a little bomb that seeks out your opponent. There's, this barrier. That right there is a rocket chicken. You shoot that, and that's a heat-seeking missile that sometimes you can avoid it, sometimes you can shoot it out of the sky if you're good. Usually it's going to kill you. And this is an old trailer. It only shows 3 levels. They keep updating the game, and now there are 7 levels, and they're working on more, and they keep adding more characters, and they keep adding more guns. So there's like standard kind of pea shooter guns, then there are like shotguns, then there are machine gun type guns, and they all have, everything's balanced so that like a rapid fire gun like takes more time to reload, or they have an auto reload feature, and like then a gun that isn't as powerful, you can get more shots off before you have to like reload it, something like that. And then the characters are balanced in that like some characters are really fast but they don't have a lot of health, and then there are characters that are slow as hell but they have a giant health bar. But the best players end up using the fast characters usually. I use a character. There are free promo code characters. So there's Nathie, the VR YouTuber, and there's Mike from VR Oasis. So I play as Nathie because I think he's one of the most interesting like looking characters in the game because he has VR headsets hanging off of him and stuff. And but he's like kind of a middle of the road, kind of like middle health, sort of middle speed, sort of. So some of these really fast people just dance around me and kick my ass. The coolest thing about this game, for me, is that there's a global leaderboard. And it's not just a leaderboard like based on your kills or your score. What it is everyone, when you start this game, you start out with 1,000, what they call ELO points, or ELO. And that's like a skill rating system like based on chess, where like say you have 1,000 and then you beat someone who's ranked up at 1,500. Well, you're going to get a bunch of points because you beat a highly ranked person, and that person's going to lose their points. I've never seen any game that does a leaderboard like that, and that's what has me so addicted. So you know, you keep working your way up and beating these higher ranked players, and that feels so good. You know, I'm beating these guys and I'm taking their points, and they're going down the scoreboard while you're, you know, going above them. But then once you get to the top, that's when it's really tough because you could beat, you know, you could beat 20 people that are ranked less than you, and you're only going to earn like 1 point for every win. 1 point because you're ranked so high. But if one of those people beats you, you're going to lose at least 30 points. So everything you've just done for hours is just like erased. And that's kind of where I am right now in the game. I was up as high as number 2 in the world. I've never been able to get past number 1. Number 1 is a woman who uses a Lenovo Mirage Explorer, which is a 6DoF mobile headset, but she has a 3DoF controller, and she just destroys everyone. She just kicks everyone's ass. And her husband is usually number 2 in the world. I made it up to number 2, but right now I'm like down to like 4th because lately a bunch of new people have come on the game and they're just like coming out of nowhere kicking my ass. So it's kind of like gambling with this game. It's kind of like, am I going to get on? Because there's that one guy who's really good who might beat me. And you get on there and you don't know who you're going to end up facing. Like you could face some easy people. You could face some monsters that just destroy you. You don't know. And there are different servers. There's a U.S. server, European server, U.S. West, you know, Asia, South America, all this, you know. So you can hop around the servers, you know, if one isn't busy. There's usually plenty of people playing. And yeah, it's awesome. I really recommend it. It's
And this game is cross-platform with mobile VR as well.
Yeah, I forgot to say that. It's cross-platform with Go, every Daydream, like Lenovo Mirage Solo is a Daydream headset. So yeah, and you can even play it on Android phones and you like just regular flat, and you can play it on
Wow.
iOS too. So there are people playing on just their cell phones against me in VR, and they don't stand a chance against anybody in VR.
But no
Um,
PSVR. All these
yeah,
platforms have no PSVR.
I don't know why. I know
It's amazing, isn't it?
they're
I'm sure
coming to
it's coming.
Quest.
It's got to come.
Yeah, definitely coming to Quest. I don't get the PSVR thing. Maybe there's too big of a licensing fee.
Sony QA. I guarantee it's Sony QA.
Mhm.
It's coming.
Sony QA holds up PC ports for months on end because they're so stringent. They don't have the refund protection that the Steam and Oculus stores have for their titles. So their titles, they have to be absolutely sure when they hit the
Mhm.
store that they're working, they're great. So I wouldn't be surprised if these devs are developing for PlayStation VR, but they just haven't made it through the QA process yet.
And one other thing, you can if you just want to play your friend, you can play your friend. So there's like a private match feature, but the only drawback is you have to tell them like a six digit code. Like I guess you would do it either via voice or via text or something, and they enter it in. But then you can just do an unlimited number of matches against each other, and the maps are random. Like no, you might be able to pick your map in that
Do you
mode.
you still get the same ranking points for playing
Nah, when you do
uh,
private matches, it won't affect your leaderboard ranking. But that
I'm
way
su-
people can't abuse it.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, I picked this one up probably 2 3 weeks ago, maybe a month when it was free on Oculus. I
Mhm.
still haven't jumped into it. Multiplayer is not my thing to begin with,
Yeah.
and going into a multiplayer game late after everyone else has been playing it for a month or two, I would probably pretty much just be meat for the
Eh,
slaughter.
Mhm.
it's pretty easy though, and it's actually really done well, and it looks good. Although main fan keeps trying to honeypot me in there to get my ass kicked by him, and
Yeah.
I'm very reluctant to all it took was me. Well, the first time I went in, literally, I was in there and I'm looking around and I look over and I see the world leaderboard and I see main fan number 2, and I was
Mhm.
like, fuck no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I should go in there though, because he'll probably take it easy on me. But
Yeah,
I
my
don't
name
know.
on Steam is Justin VR, and so yeah, like a lot of yeah, in this game I'm Justin VR, but you knew that, so that's how you knew it was me.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but you can set your name in this game anything. It doesn't have to be the same as your Steam name. It can be anything. What was I gonna say about it? There was one more thing. Uh, Man, I can't remember now. I guess I'll go on to my next game. Uh, did you want to say that, Wes, or you want me to just go?
Oh no, yeah, man, go ahead.
All right. So another game I've been playing is Witching Tower. This is an action game where so that right there is this evil queen, evil witch queen that controls an army of the dead, and she's locked you into this dungeon, chained you there, and you have to escape and fight her these skeletons and all her evil dogs and all sorts of crazy shit. And there are puzzles all throughout this whole thing. That's one of the coolest things I think that you do some combat, then you do some puzzles, combat puzzles. Yeah, in some scenes you can actually control the enemies with some like magical abilities. Um, the melee is kind of just average, just kind of average melee. But there's bow and arrow, and I think the bow and arrow is pretty accurate, so I was pretty happy with that. But I liked the game. The puzzles were fun. It took me 3.2 hours to beat it. So at full price of $20, I don't know, 3.2 hours might be not enough for some people, but I got it on sale for like $9.99, and I'm happy with that. Yeah, and the graphics, I mean, they really impressed me almost the whole way through. I mean, the trailer doesn't really even tell, but yeah, in VR, it's even more impressive. And even the scale, like some places you're in these really giant, hallways, and you're just like in there with that ball swinging and these axes swinging are really cool. So yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, yeah, I think the trailer looks cool, and you're right. Large scale things are breathtaking in VR. I try
Mhm.
to explain it to the uninitiated, but you really can't describe what it's like to stand at the foot of this monolithic structure,
Yeah.
whether it be swinging axes or even just a building. Uh, Witching Tower, I'd like to point out, is coming to PlayStation VR soon.
Hmm.
And also, if $20 price tag is steep for that, unless I'm badly mistaken, this is a Viveport subscription title. So if you have a Viveport subscription or Viveport Infinity, as it's getting ready to change to, this is
Mhm.
one of the titles that you're going to be able to play.
Hmm. One thing about it, some of the controls are a little annoying. Like, so for example, holding your sword, you have to hold your trigger the whole time to keep the sword in your hand. Or to have
It's
your bow
annoying.
in your hand, you have to hold the trigger the whole time and your bow hand. Things like that, they
Oh,
could easily
yeah.
fix that.
Yeah,
I,
normally there's a toggle in those
exactly.
settings for stuff like that.
Yeah.
It
I,
makes more sense for as far as feeling like you're really holding a sword because you don't
yeah.
hold the sword and then let go.
Yeah.
But if you're used to like games giving you that option, but I do have a question. You just finished playing Shadow Legends. What is your like? They're very similar in like type games. What
Mhm.
what do you think comparison wise, mechanic wise, or even graphically between the
Hmm.
two?
That's a good question.
Because I'm watching this trailer and I'm thinking, fuck, man, I didn't even know that was released. I want to go play it tonight. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like it looks good.
Hmm. That's a really good question that I'm struggling to answer. Um, yeah. Uh,
Well, how about this? Which one did you have more fun playing? They're both short
hmm.
games, both melee combat.
Pretty close to same time
Well,
wise.
in Shadow Legend, it's like an Easter egg hunt, and that was a big part of the fun for me, just trying to find all the hidden stuff. So I probably had more fun in Shadow Legend up until the end. The end sucked.
Yeah.
Uh, these are pretty comparable. Yeah, Shadow Legend took me 4 hours. This took 3.2. Shadow Legend costs a lot more. Was Shadow Legend 20 or 25?
I thought it was 25, but I can't
Okay.
remember.
Well, this is 20 at full price. Um, I mean, I
Yeah,
like
and
them
this.
both. I might put Shadow Legend a little bit ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say this thing goes on sale all the time, so
Yeah.
you really don't have to pay $20 for it.
Yeah. All right.
Alex, what'd you play this week?
What did I play this week? I found a game on sale called Gates of Nowhere, which I've had my eye on it for a while, but it was on sale. It's actually still, if you're watching this, I think it's on until the 2nd of April. It's 50% off, so you can pick this up for, I think it was £5 or about $7, something like that. But yeah, this surprised me actually. The game is it's a dungeon crawler, so you're going through kind of dark environments. You can see on the screen now. Uh, It uses Unreal Engine, so it's absolutely beautiful game, really good looking game, one of the best I've seen. It's got dynamic lighting, so as you're going through, there's torches lit everywhere. You can see them flickering, and if you pick a torch up and you carry it, you can cast shadows. Really, one of the best looking games. I've put about 2 hours into this, so I haven't actually finished it yet. But so far, I'm actually enjoying it. It's a game I've looked at a few times, been on the fence about it because it's got very mixed reviews on Steam. But at the moment, I'd recommend it, especially at the sale price. It's not perfect. There's some issues with the Oculus Rift. The sword angle's a little bit weird, but if you hold the touch controllers slightly differently, you can actually account for that. The inventory and the way that you actually interact with objects, I would recommend going into the training, because it's a completely different system to anything I've played before. You pick things up with your trigger, and then if you want to drop that item, you have to double click your grip button, which is completely weird. And then it automatically goes into your inventory system. To access your inventory, whichever hand you want to put something in, you press a button on the touch, and then like a circle comes up. You use your thumbstick to select which item you want, and then you have to press the trigger to put it in your hand. It's a weird system, but to be honest, now I've got used to it. I don't even have to think about it. It just comes naturally. The bow and arrows shit, basically. There's something weird going on where if you pull a bow back, as normally, I think there's some sort of hitbox or something, because it stops coming back so far. So when you actually fire the arrow, it kind of just drops a little bit. It doesn't go very quick. But if you actually pull the bow and arrow next to you like this, it comes all the way back. And as soon as you move it back in again, it kind of comes forward. So there's something weird going on with that. But there is a crossbow, so you can use that, and that you just hold the trigger down and it reloads it. So that's the best way for ranged weapons. There's also as you're going through the dungeon, there's all these little trinkets and stuff you can pick up, like water bottles, cobalt dust, moon rocks, all sorts of shit. Basically, pick them up, double click, drop them, and they get put into like a workshop area. And then as you're going through the levels are very linear, by the way, so there's no like exploration or anything. You'll come across these workshops, and then you've got like a spell book, and you can take things that you've picked up, put it in a cauldron, mix some, it's on the screen right now actually, mix the potion up, and then a little gem will come out, and then you can put that in your inventory, like on the screen. Good timing. And then when you're in the game, you can access those gems, and they give you powers. So, for example, one regenerates your health. You've got one which I found the other day where it's like a grenade, basically. So you fire it off and it explodes and kills loads of guys. There's one that makes you invisible. There's one that makes you... There's actually loads, and I've not even seen half of what there is. So there is quite a bit of depth to the game. The game also is quite hard. I mean, it starts off relatively easy, but yeah, it gets pretty tough. And I know some of the reviewers have compared it to the Dark Souls of VR, because they'll throw 4, 5, 6 enemies at you at once, and you've got to try and fight them off. And they don't just stand there neither. They'll move around, they'll dodge your attacks. There's some of them that'll dodge your arrows, so you can't even pick them off from a distance. Yeah, I think overall it's a pretty good game. I know, Roots, you've played this, haven't you?
Yeah. Actually, I haven't put as much time in as you. I haven't found the bow and arrow, so I didn't get to experience the jank of that. But I almost feel like the sword is actually a good thing in a sense, because, like you said, you have to angle it right. But like again, in real life, sometimes I'm baffled with the VR community, because, like, on one hand, everything is immersion and everything needs to be immersion, but then we bitch about, and I'm not saying you, because I probably was bitching myself, but we bitch about the angle, and it's like a real sword, you're not going to hit it from the side. You have to angle it right? So you should be trying to angle it. Same thing with holding the bow or the thing, and I really fault the lazy devs that didn't make you hold it stuff to make us feel like we shouldn't have to hold it, because I kind of feel like I should be holding it just like a normal weapon or whatever. But One thing I will say about the enemies in that, like you said, the AI is very intelligent, very aggressive too. Even in the beginning, like 2 or 3 guys were coming up quick and flanking me from different sides, and I haven't seen that in a lot of VR games. It's like that mechanic is left out. It's usually in AAA games where you feel like, oh shit, I need to come at this guy the right way or I'm gonna die. So yeah, I thought it was pretty tight for what it is for sure.
Yeah, there's some physics in there as well. So like you can't if you take a shield in one hand and then a sword in the other, it'll go straight through it. But if you when you're attacking the other enemies, obviously it does hit and
Or
collide with their
a chain.
yeah, or a chain. There's certain objects like things on the table, you can knock them off with your sword. Doors, you can push them open with your sword or with your hand. There's actually a section where there's like a big cloth that hangs down, and you can put your sword in there, and it actually reacts realistically, and the cloth kind of drapes on your sword and everything. So there's some physics in there. Just don't expect obviously blade and sorcery level, interaction with everything, but I think it's a bit of a hidden gem, really.
Hmm.
And the levels are actually they kind of look similar-ish, but they're not. I think there's enough variety. Like as you're going through the levels, they open up. Sometimes you've got a big hallway. Sometimes you've got like a big chasm you've got to cross. There's some physics-based puzzle areas that you've got to try and get past, like moving things around. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it, and I'm actually wanting to play some more. Also, with the footage, you can see that they've got like the enemy health bar at the top. You can turn that off. I turn that off because I don't like having health bars over them. So you can turn that off, and it's a lot more immersive that way. I also go into the options because there's render scale is automatically set to ultra, and I found I had to turn that down to high. Otherwise, it was reprojecting quite a lot. So.
And super sample. Well, I had to put my super sample on to make it look
Yeah, that's
good.
right. You was blurry for you when you first went in there. So.
Yeah, it just didn't look right.
So in the
Yeah,
trade tool, you had to adjust that, right?
Yeah, I went to the trade tool and I think I put it to 1.35, just because I got a 1070. But and then it just made things a lot sharper, a lot better. So
It's a good looking game. Do you not agree?
oh yeah,
yeah.
sure.
This is the first time I've watched the full trailer, and I'm like, holy shit, this is only $5.99? Is that what it
Yeah.
is?
Yeah, me too.
Right now it is, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't really looked at it in a while. I will point out yet again that I think this is another one of the Viveport Infinity subscription titles. So anybody out there that wants to try it out, go download it.
There's a lot of games on that list, man. They're actually, I mean, I'm not a big Vive person or Viveport per se, just from my experience. But if you set things up right and they're making it better every day, that they've got a lot of games on there. So
Yeah, well, I'll move on to next game then. The other game I've played is Torn, which I think all of you have played this. Is that right?
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've put about 2 hours into it, so I've not finished it, but I think I've got enough of an idea to talk about it. But this game, man, I'm so mixed about this game. It's beautiful to look at. I mean, it's a really good looking game again. When you walk down and you can see this mansion. If you've never heard of this game before, it's like a adventure puzzle game. So you play as this obnoxious female YouTuber who I don't like myself playing this game, but she breaks into this mansion and then she finds that there's some sort of glowing orb which has got the memories of is he a doctor or a professor or something, and you have to collect these orbs in that machine that you can see there, and then you have to get transported to this other world to then give him these orbs, which then restores some of his memory. And it's quite a good mechanic in that it's interesting to evolve the story. You have to solve these puzzles to then get more memory, and then you go to this other world like you can see now, and it looks completely different. You're studying water and there's things going around. So visually, it's visually interesting enough that I keep wanting to play it, but the actual gameplay of it is not so great. There's the puzzles Well, I'll start with the controls actually, because the controls. This game was released
Yes.
without locomotion. It was dash, I think it was teleportation, and then they've put free locomotion in there, but it's shit basically. You've got option of head orientated locomotion, which I hate, because if you want to look somewhere, and then obviously you start moving in that direction. Normally I can manage with that because I can use my thumbsticks to strafe. So as I'm looking there, I can strafe this way to keep myself walking the direction. But for some reason, there's no strafe. So you can't strafe left or right. So all you can do is walk forwards and then look where you want, or you can untick a box, which is what I've done, where you can just walk. So wherever you're facing, you press forward and you will just stay on that path, and then you can look round. But then if you want to change direction, you've got to let go of the thumbstick or the trackpad, and then you've got to look again. Look, it's a bit janky. But to be fair, when you're actually in a room, I find that I don't really move around much, because you get this, it's like a physics-based, what was it, gravity gun type thing.
Yeah.
And what you have to do is you pick up different objects, and they have like symbols underneath them, and you have to match them up with other symbols that are on the wall, which you can only see by shining your torch onto it. It's kind of interesting at first, but I think it's going to get overplayed, because that's the only puzzle solving that I've really had to do. You can see it now where you've got like these grids. You have to spend quite a bit of time, and the last room I did was like the main foyer area. Took quite a while to go through all the different freaking circuits and everything, and it gets boring after a while.
Yeah, from
What
when
are
I
your guys'
played, it
thoughts?
was the same thing, that same puzzle mechanic over and over and over.
How far did you get?
I played for I don't know, maybe 3 hours, I think.
Yeah, not
Um,
finished it.
I don't remember why I stopped.
Probably
Thank
because
you.
of that reason.
I think you just said it right.
Bad acting, and
Bad controls.
the puzzles are. I found them annoying as hell. Like
Yeah.
after about 45 minutes, and of course my problem was I left the game and went and did a bunch of other shit for like a week and came back and forgot, and it's just very monotonous.
Hmm.
I thought that the environments were beautiful. The
Mm.
sound design was great. The story was compelling, and the puzzles and gameplay were repetitive. It was
Hmm.
fun for a while, but I got to the point where I wasn't really willing to keep doing that same thing over and over again just because I wanted to see the next part of the story.
Hmm.
So I put maybe 2 hours into it, walked away, and never really went back to it.
I think I'll probably keep playing it, but I'm not sure whether I'll finish it. It depends on. I think it's probably a good game to come back to every now and then. Maybe have, do one of the puzzles in the room,
Finish
watch a
the
bit more of the
room
story. Yeah. Finish the room.
because
Get the. If you don't finish it, does it? I presume you have to start from the beginning.
well, you just don't know where you left off, and I mean,
Oh, is that what happened to you?
I
All
think
right.
imagine going to that foyer you're talking about and not knowing where I mean, I spent like maybe 20 minutes and said, you know what, this is too fucked up. I'm not doing it. But what it does do well, like you were saying, Wes, is the way that the world pops up, like just watching stuff come out of the ground and develop and form itself in front of your eyes. They do that very well, and it's visually amazing looking. It's just getting past the acting of the main chick, which has bothered me from day one, and then the repetitive puzzles. I think I got about 2 hours maybe, and then I was done.
I
You
think
know,
the voice acting on the professor guy, the orc,
Amazing.
good. Yeah, really good. But
Yeah.
the woman, she's a dick. I don't like
It's
that woman.
it's somebody's wife or somebody's sister or somebody, somebody they know, and so I can do it. No, you can't. Um, but I mean, I don't know. I'm not voiceovering any games either, so.
what impressed me
Yeah.
the most were the physics. Like, for example, that curtain they showed in this trailer.
Mhm.
I was messing with that curtain for so long, and then I messed with spider webs with a baseball bat. That stuff really impressed me. But
Yeah, it's very well done.
yeah.
Yeah, it kind of hurt my feelings a little bit because, I like exploring beautiful environments, large mansions. I love it, and it was just I had to quit. I couldn't put the time into just doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
As much as I like unraveling mysteries and exploring, it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to move on
Sure,
to
yeah.
Roots?
Yeah, Roots, what'd you play, buddy?
Yeah, so pretty much just played mostly flat games, but in VR, the game I played the most was Audica VR, and I kind of feel like it's getting a bad rap as far as and I said this in the video I did on my YouTube channel. Everything I've literally heard from most people is like it's not this about like Beat Saber, it's not like this about like Beat Saber is, and at some point I started thinking, well, it's not Beat Saber. I already own Beat Saber. I don't want another Beat Saber, you know. And I guess what it comes down to is really liking the music, because I know Alex is kind of finds it a little repetitive or more more learning than is worth. But like I love techno, and I grew up like in my early 20s at like the type of music that's in this game. So it just kind of hits my chord. And then that feeling when you are doing something that, you know, you're learning the different moves, but once you get it and you're doing it out of muscle memory and you get through a song and you get chills and you're like, oh my God, I just nailed that. It just keeps bringing me back. And I kind of have to agree with Anthony from VR 365 as far as it's my game of the year at the moment. I guarantee it won't last more than a month or two, but at the moment, it's the one game that keeps me coming back for sure.
Yeah, I'm not as keen. So, but I mean, I know you don't want to compare it to Beat Saber, but it's in the same genre. So I don't know if I want to rhythm games. I'm not sure if I'm that bothered. And I mean, I've got about 70 hours in Beat Saber. I play the custom tracks. You know, I play on expert. And what I like about Beat Saber is you jump in. I can have 10 minutes. I can pick any song and I can just do it. I don't feel like I have to learn the track. You get to a point where you can just do it instinctively. And with this, I just felt like you really had to learn exactly where everything was going to come from. You've got things coming out of your field of view, so there's no way. I don't see how you could ever be able to do it in one run if you've got a brand new song, because you can't see where stuff's coming from. So
well, the thing is like at least when you get to the higher levels, they're at least the ones that are developed by the developers, not some of the ones that are putting out. Some of the people are making their own. It leads a certain way. Like you'll be going across, and then it'll start there. Like there's certain patterns you start to get to know, and I can't even explain. It's kind of like Polybius. You get to a point where you're doing stuff and you don't even know how you're knowing. Although I did say, I was talking to Justin about this the other day and he didn't get a chance to check it, but I was curious to see if the PIMAX, the extra field of view, would make it more like easier to deal with what you're talking about. Because there is a bit of that. I'd be lying to say I know where everything's coming from. But there's a lot of Beat Saber songs on the expert levels where you are going to go through it several times to learn certain things, at least if you don't put it on no fail mode. So
yeah, I can see why you like it. I think it's got potential. Well, not potential, but I think it appeals to a certain type of. I know you like a challenge, and you like. It just feels a bit too grindy for me. I feel like I'm having to grind the same song over and over again just to learn the track, just so that I can get good at it. And the music, there's a couple of tracks I like, but the music overall isn't to my taste. So I'm not. I mean, I put 2 hours into it, so I didn't just play for 10 minutes. I've put a couple of hours into it to try and learn, and I just couldn't be bothered with it, to be honest with you. So it's just one of those where it's just not for me. But I can see why people like it.
I need to try it. Still haven't.
yeah, try with the PIMAX.
Hmm.
Yeah, I haven't tried Beat Saber, let alone Audica.
Seriously?
I haven't played
Wow.
any VR rhythm games at all.
Man.
I'm surprised your wife hasn't. Usually women are really into rhythm games, at least the ones that I know.
And
So,
your kids.
yeah.
Yeah, well, my kids, they would like Beat Saber. They've asked me to get it. I haven't picked it up yet.
Mhm.
They don't get to play VR every day because they're still young. I space it out. Every other week they get an hour. So normally it's Job Simulator, honestly. I had them playing Pierhead Arcade or something this last weekend.
I
But
love
I'm sure
that.
Beast Saber's on the horizon. I just haven't picked it up yet. I will say this about Audica. Um, I think the idea of a rhythm shooter has a lot of potential. I think I would like to see a game where not only are you shooting at inanimate objects, but you have enemies that are maybe attacking you on rhythm, and you have to defend on rhythm so that you can counterattack on rhythm. Like maybe a cross between Audica and Thumper, I think would be really fun. Something you're shooting, defending, counterattacking, all in rhythm. Uh, I think that sounds awesome. But Audica itself, I'm sure I'll get around to playing it, but it'll be long after I try Beat Saber. So uh, we'll put that on the list of many games that I need to get in and check out.
I think I remember VR 365 showing some game where enemies come at you like to a beat, and it was,
Yeah, I think you're moving down a track or something, and you've got to.
Um,
I do remember. I can't remember what it was called though.
mm,
I think maybe you're talking about the developers of Operation Warcade,
Yes,
Ivanovich
that's
Games.
right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They're coming out with a rhythm shooter that looks. I think it goes down a track.
Huh.
I don't remember what it's called, but yeah, I think I know what you're talking
Hmm.
about there. Looks cool. Put
Well,
it on
but
the list too.
what have you been playing with?
Well, I played a few things this week. Mainly, I played all the way through Angry Birds VR Isle of Pigs. Um, wasn't really looking forward or excited about playing this game. I had a viewer request it, and I knew it was coming out on PlayStation VR, and a lot of people were going to wonder whether or not they should buy it. So I thought, why not? Why not check it out? Um, Coming in, the first couple of levels were very much what I expected. I don't know if this was a mobile VR title to begin with, but it feels like a mobile game. You can tell that it's based on a mobile game. Um, at the beginning, when you start with just the red bird and all of the structures are just made out of wood, there really isn't much challenge to it. Especially, I, I don't understand the game defaults to having the rangefinder on, so when you pull it back, it shows you where you're going to shoot at. And I think that takes away half the challenge. Lucky for me, MainFan gave me the advice to just go in and turn that thing off. And because I did, there was some challenge to the early levels because I didn't know how to shoot quite yet. I didn't have the feeling for it. So I made it through the first part. I was not impressed. I didn't want to crap on it too much because, you can't really judge a game by the first 20 minutes of what you play. I wanted to wait until I got later into the game to render my final judgment on it, and I'm glad I did because when I got into the second level, uh, they introduced another bird, some more building materials. So now knocking the thing down becomes more of a puzzle than just shooting at a weak spot. You have to uh, decide where you're going to put this specific bird, what kind of material you're going to run it through. And by the time I got into the third level, whereas earlier the environments were very bland, it looked like it was almost automatically generated. Now the levels start to look artistic. We get even more building materials. Another bird with more abilities. And by the time I got to the end of this thing, I was having fun. Uh, the only regret I had was that the first two levels were so long, tedious, boring, and uh, I think that was unfortunate. I think they could have condensed the first two levels into maybe one and progressed through the mechanic a little bit more so that I wouldn't have had to play for an hour before I got some diversity in the gameplay and environments. But all in all, I think it's a solid title. I don't think it's worth the $15 price tag that it launched for. Uh, but that being said, no sooner did I put this game down, I had it finished, that Justin comes in with the news that they have added DLC. So maybe with the DLC, the spooky DLC,
Hmm.
it will be worth the $15 price tag. But the game as it stands, I wouldn't recommend it unless you find it on a sale.
Is that free, the DLC, by the way?
Uh,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
I
so.
think so.
I
Yeah,
need to check that out.
It adds,
yeah,
I can't remember if it's like 10 or 13 new levels that
it's
are all,
13.
yeah,
It's a
okay,
whole,
13.
yeah, it's a whole new world, just like the previous four, with 13 separate levels and a boss fight. It's Halloween themed, so I thought that was kind of weird timing for it.
Hmm.
They were they were probably planning on waiting to release that until the later in the year. But when they heard the mixed reviews from the PlayStation VR community, it was a pretty much a universal criticism from the PSVR guys that this game needs more content.
Yeah.
So I think that they went ahead and announced it straight away. It was like the day after it released on PlayStation, they announced this DLC. So maybe that if that level continues the trend of adding diversity to the gameplay and the environments, maybe it's worth $15. So, I don't know. You guys
Mhm.
played this one, right?
Mhm.
I've not played
Yeah.
it.
I blame VR Furballs. I played that. I really want to check out the new level because it's so good. But VR Furballs has so many levels to it and so much diversity that when Angry Birds came out, I was like, yeah, this is really cool. But it's not VR Furballs, and you would have thought it was the exact opposite because Angry Birds is already it's already a brand. It's already known. It's worldwide. It's on every Android and iPhone, and I was just surprised. So yeah, it makes sense to release some extra stuff.
Justin, what did you think about Angry Birds?
I got it for free from Paradise Decay, but I still played all the way through it. I mean, yeah, it kept my interest enough to beat it. I can't remember how long it took. It might have been like an hour and a half. Some people I think said they beat it in an hour.
Yeah, it's not very long.
Yeah.
It's not a bad game. I wouldn't say
No.
that. It's fun. It's challenging.
Yeah.
Even the early levels, when you're learning how to shoot, it's challenging. But I think it's a late bloomer. I think after you get past the halfway point, it goes from just being a challenging, addictive game to being a challenging, addictive, fun game.
Yeah,
So
there was
Justin,
some, sorry, there were
or
some levels where I had to try a lot of times before I finally found the right spot to hit.
Yeah,
Um,
same here. You'll notice in my later videos, if you go to my channel and watch it, the first two are uncut, but the last two, you'll find some fade in and fade out where I
ah,
edited out some attempts for time because I
okay.
didn't want to have like an hour-long video for that.
Uh,
You know,
sorry, Roots, what were you gonna say?
no, that's all right. I was just gonna ask if you enjoyed it enough that you are tempted to go back in and check out the new level.
Oh yeah, I actually am. So yeah, I'll
Okay.
go in, especially like spooky stuff. Like I'm like I'm like Wes. I like spooky, and it's not like it's gonna be scary, but I mean I
right?
like spookier themed stuff.
I like
Ah, don't do that, Wes.
spooky stuff is actually can it'll elicit laughter out of me because it's
Yeah.
it's weird, but it's fun. You don't get that from anything else but a scary title.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Right.
I can't handle it.
My my theory on this is, and I was saying this to someone the other day. Uh, when we first tried VR, we all remember how we felt. It was amazing. But over time, as you play more and more games, especially if you play every day, the games have less of an effect on you. And this is why I love VR horror so much, is because more than any other genre, this game is going to get your blood pumping. It's going to affect you, whether you want it to or not, and whether you find it positive like I do or a negative experience like Alex. I absolutely love VR horror above all else. And that leads me into the other game that I played this week. And I'm just going to touch on it briefly because I've really just got started on it, and I'll talk about it more next week after I finish it. But that game was Home Sweet Home. Um, I picked it up quite some time ago on Steam VR, but I haven't tried it until recently. The reason I picked it up, I have a lot of friends in the PSVR community, and like me, they're horror fans. And when you ask them what are the best horror games for PlayStation VR, they all told me the same thing, and it was a surprise to me. Of course, everybody knows Resident Evil 7 VR is the best horror title in VR. In my opinion, it's the best title, period, in VR. But everyone's number two, when I was expecting to hear Paranormal Activity or Don't Knock Twice or Exorcist or Here They Lie, everybody told me Home Sweet Home. And I was like, really? But over time, after I heard it time and time and time again, I finally listened to them. I picked it up on Steam because it costs twice as much on the Sony store as it does on Steam. It's a $16 game on Steam. It's $30 on the PlayStation Store.
Wow.
Man.
Yeah, that's what I said too. I was like, I like to support the devs that bring their stuff to PlayStation VR as much as I can, but I'm not paying double for anything, especially when I can bring it into my PC and push it with my 1080 Ti.
You have a better experience.
Yeah, yeah. I have room scale and 1080 Ti. I'm not going to pay a tax for a worse experience. So we got it on Steam. So coming into this game, I had some pretty high expectations for it based on other people's recommendations, and I was a little bit underwhelmed at first. The environments were at the beginning. The environments were kind of bland. You can't read anything because it's from an Asian developer, and all of the words are in another language. The things that you're meant to read, they translate for you. You have to pick it up and click Y, and then it'll put a black and white, text up for you to read it. But the jump scares on the first part weren't scary. There was that lady you see right there on the screen. Basically, the whole first level was just trying to find your way out of these corridors. And whenever she shows up, there's always a locker around. You have to jump in a locker and wait until she leaves. And I was afraid that was going to be the whole game at that point, because that's all I'd seen from the trailer was that lady. And I was like, man, is this going to be it? Just go down some halls, jump in a locker for a minute when you see her, and then just keep going, try to find the way out. And so when I went back in the second time, I was hoping that the experience would change, and thankfully it did. It changed in a big way. I made my way through the end of that first level, and there's a part where this lady goes into a library, and instead of hiding from her till she disappears, you have to make it around her. You have to duck down, sneak through the aisles in the library, and make it to the other side. And just that mechanic in this dark, creepy environment with the superb sound design. The sound in this game was superb from the very beginning, and it helps build the tension. But by the time I was finished with part two, I was a lot more optimistic, even though I did encounter quite a bit of jank. There's problems with the room scale in the game, and sometimes it loses you. And whenever the game loses you, if you don't recenter in a certain way, the game won't work. Like, for example, the first time it happened, there's this chase scene where the girl's chasing you down the hallway, and all these tables and things are jumping out in front of you, like poltergeist activity. And I died on that part like 30 times because I wasn't centered quite right. And I would make it to the end of the corridor, and just all of a sudden, it would make me stop, flip me around, and I would be looking at this girl stabbing the air like 10 feet away from me, stabbing the air with a box cutter, and somehow that killed me. And I couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. And then I remembered reading something about this centering room scale problem in some of the older reviews, and I scooted my chair back about 3 feet, recentered, and on the first try made it out into the next part of the game. And since then, the story has unfolded as layers have been added to the story. It's gotten a lot scarier. The jump scares are getting me almost every time. Even when I expect the jump scares, they're making me jump. And you guys know, if you've watched my videos, jump scares don't do anything to me. So for this game to be scaring me with that type of stuff is really a credit to the developers. And I got to say, I'm looking forward now to playing the rest of this one.
Yeah, I've watched all of Wes's Let's Plays, and this is the first game I've seen, seem like it scared him. He's a brave bastard.
It's not that I don't get scared. I just get quiet when I'm a little bit scared. Like if I'm kind of nervous, I just get quiet. So if you hear me not talking, you know I'm a little uncomfortable. But this one had me cursing aloud on many occasions.
So when she's chasing you, do you get that same feeling like when Jack is chasing you in Resident Evil 7? Because that fucker, man, I've never felt like I need to get away from somebody so bad when he was chasing me. And you saw, like, Wes is like making notes. Oh, you're doing this. He's like, I could make a book of what you did wrong because I was jacked up. Yeah, it scared the hell out of me.
Did you put up another video?
No, I need to finish.
Okay.
But yeah, no, that's it's crazy.
In your defense, that part where Jack is after you in that game is one of the most terrifying things of any game that I've played. That, even though I've played through that part multiple times, I still get nervous playing that part because you know he can be around any corner and just snatch you up in the blink of an eye and pound on you. That chase scene isn't quite that intense, but the library scene that I was talking about before, where you're ducking down, trying to hide from her and get around her, it very much reminds me of the level in Resident Evil 7 where you're trying to hide from Marguerite and you're constantly ducking behind things, looking around corners and trying to avoid her.
Marguerite got me, man.
That game's just a masterpiece.
Yeah.
I could talk for an hour about Resident Evil 7 and how great it is.
Yeah, it's good.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. This week I'm going to finish up that game, and I got a review key today. My first ever review key I got for Vertigo Home on PlayStation VR. So nice. I'll be playing that one as well.
Cool.
Anything else you guys want to touch on? Questions, statements, comments?
No, I think we're done for this first show.
Okay. Well, a few channel notes going forward. In the next few weeks, we plan on releasing these talk show format videos around the same time every week. So whatever time you see this uploaded, come back next week. There should be another episode. As we gain more experience and get more comfortable with making these videos, throughout the week, you're going to start to see review discussions that are going to be focused on one game. So each week we'll pick a game, we'll all play it, we'll come back and we'll talk about it. And that's, however, is going to be off in the future. We're still trying to learn how to use all the software and put these videos together because we don't want to put a bad product out. We want to be entertaining. But after we get comfortable, start looking for those review discussions. And again, I want to mention that if you want to check out my channel, Main Fans channel, Roots channel, and in the future, Alex's channel, that stuff will be linked in the description of each one of these videos, as well as on our channel page for subscribers. When you go to our main page, you should see our channels all listed in the right-hand column there. So if no one else has anything to say, I'm Wes.
I want to I just wanted to make a couple of points. First of all, thank you guys for doing this with me. I think it's gone pretty well for our first episode.
Yeah.
It is our first episode though, so if anyone wants to leave any feedback, obviously leave a comment in the video. We are looking for constructive feedback on how we can improve the show, what you like, what you don't like. Also with the review discussions, if you want to give us a game you want us to see as a review as well, that's cool. We can add it to the list. Also, I think it's worth shouting out Anthony from VR 365.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Without him, we wouldn't have met. We wouldn't be doing this show. So if you've not subscribed, if you don't watch Anthony, he does a daily VR show where he just covers everything, hardware, PSVR, Quest, anything VR, he will cover it. He does it every day. So if you head over to his channel, we'll put a link in the description as well. And yeah, give him some love.
Yeah, thanks, Anthony. I
Yeah,
wouldn't
thanks,
know who
man.
any of these guys are if it weren't for you and your show. So yeah, I second that. Thank you.
Yeah, same
Yeah.
here. And we wouldn't have. We've been doing. Maybe at some point we could even put some of these out. But like I've got to experience Windlands 2 with 4 people, and like it's been one of the coolest things I've done. Like doing multiplayer with people that you actually know and that you enjoy spending time with is something not to take lightly for sure.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I forgot to mention that. That definitely look for some co-op gameplays going forward. We do like to play games together, and that's something that we could do easily. We all know how to make gameplay videos. So if there's a game you want to see us play that's got 3 or 4 player co-op, leave that in the description as well, and we'll be sure to get on that at some point.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Good.
Yep. Everybody good?
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So if you've made it through this whole thing with us, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sticking around. If you like what you see here, be sure to tell a friend. Spread the word. It's a new
Subscribe.
channel. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. And yeah, if you like this, come back, bring a friend, and we're going to keep on trucking and playing VR. We would be having this discussion regardless. So we definitely would like to hear from you guys as well. So I'm Wes for Justin, Alex, and Roots. Thanks again, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.
See you later.
See you later.
Right.